Thank you all for joining us this morning. We're very glad to have you with us today. My name is Mitchell Taylor, and I work for Canadian Geographic Education, and I will be moderating this session that's hosted by Susie. So just before we welcome our speaker and get on with the presentation, I just wanted to quickly highlight and remind you some of the tools that you can use throughout the presentation to help interact with speakers and ask any questions that you have throughout. So we have a Q&A section at the bottom where we would like you to kind of direct a lot of your questions and we can get to them at the end of the presentation. And if you want to connect or just have any general chat, you can just put that in the chat and you guys can all speak to each other throughout. And if there's any questions or concerns in there as well, we'll bring them up towards the end of the presentation as well. And if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and Susie or I will be looking out and we can unmute you and you can have your question asked. And yeah, and just to remind you at the end of the hour, there's a hard stop. So the presentation will end at the hour and there's not a lot of mercy with it. So we can't, it'll cut you off mid-sentence. So just a heads up, we'll be giving like a 5-minute warning before it ends. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Susie and she can begin on her presentation. Take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mitchell. Welcome to the session called Unlocking the Power of GIS, Ready to Use Teaching Resources. My name is Susie. I am the Community Engagement Lead in Esri Canada's Education and Research Group. I've been with Esri Canada for about 7.5 years now. I have a background in GIS and urban planning. Part of my job is to present at conferences like this one so we can share how valuable GIS is for learning about the world around us. Another great part of my role is I get to work really closely with different organizations that use maps and data to share stories about our world, like Canadian Geographic Education. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me this morning. If you have questions, like Mitchell mentioned, you can put them in the chat or the Q&A and I'll keep my eye on them and I'll answer questions throughout, and I'll also save some time to answer questions at the end. So I'm going to also share the link to my presentation right into the chat. So you can feel free to follow along with the presentation. You can click on all of the links that I'll be clicking on, or feel free to watch, just depending what your learning style is. But that's the link to the presentation. It's created in a story map, which some of you may be familiar with, but it lives in the browser and I use story maps as my main presentation tool. You can learn more about story maps in some of the other sessions as well today. And I'm going to show you a bunch of excellent story map resources as well. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do in today's session is we're actually going to do some GIS. So I have a survey link here. You can either scan this QR code here with your phone or tablet, or you can type in this URL right into your browser, or if you're following along with the presentation, you can just click on it. I'll also link this survey link right into the chat for you. And so when you click on that link, a survey will open in another tab here. Oh, I'm sharing. Thank you for the message. I was sending the links to just the panelists. There we go. I will also link the survey into the chat. Thank you so much. So when you click on that link or you scan this QR code right from your screen, you will see a survey that will open in another tab. And so here you're going to fill out some information here. Your first name, your last name, what session you're attending. I'm going to fill it out as well. And so this survey was created in something called Survey 123, which is a tool that's available to you right through ArcGIS Online. Survey 123 is a really great data collection tool that you can use to make a collaborative map, which is exactly what we're doing right now. So this would be the same kind of process that a student would take, and you can customize all of these questions. So it's similar to a Google form if you've ever created one, but the difference is that there's a spatial component to survey 123. So I'm going to put in my address as the Esri Canada Toronto office, which is where I work out of. I'm going to put my point on the map. You can put your school name, your school location here, and I'm going to press submit. I'm going to submit my survey. And then what we are going to do is we're going to actually see this data coming in live. So if I go to this web map here, and I'm going to refresh. So we have everyone at the conference filling out this same survey. So we're going to see points appearing all over the map here. And so these are either your points or points that other people are filling out in some of the other sessions as well. If I click on one of these points, you're going to see the information that was filled out in that survey. So I customized this pop-up to only show school name and the session that you're in. I got rid of some of the more private data like first name and email, just to keep the data a little bit more private when building this map. And this is all something that you could do with your students. So we're using this tool right now as kind of a classroom census, which we have educators using Survey 123 for in many of their different classes. And you can zoom in and out of this map, and you can see where the data points are being collected. And if I open the legend here, you can see the colors of the points are showing what session that they're currently in. So all of the green ones, all of the green points are all of you, everyone that is in this session right now. So we just did a really quick GIS activity together. And all that was required on your part was to fill out the survey and press submit. And we built a GIS data layer together in the back end, and we created a collaborative map. Excellent. If you're looking for, perfect. Thank you so much, Mitchell, for keeping up with the chat. Excellent. So I'm going to go back to our presentation. So thank you so much for doing that. We do have a session later on today on Survey 123, but I will also show you where you can find ready-made resources that you can use to incorporate Survey 123 into your classes as well. All right, we're going to go back to our presentation and we're going to take a look at the agenda. So today's session is all about helping you discover how to seamlessly integrate GIS into your teaching. And we really do like to emphasize that you're not teaching GIS, you're teaching with GIS. So you do not need to be a GIS professional to start incorporating GIS into your classes. Really think of it as a tool to complement and to supplement what you're already teaching. So in today's session, we will look at a couple of resources that you can use to introduce GIS to your classes. We will also explore Esri Canada's K-12 Resource Finder, which contains an amazing variety of ready-to-use cross-curricular resources that will captivate your students' imaginations. And we will also explore ready-to-use resources created by our education partner organizations like Canadian Geographic Education. And then towards the end, given time, I would really like to save at least 5 to 7 minutes to give you some activity time where you'll be able to search these resources on your own while I'm still here, and we can share some interesting things that we find in the chat. And then we'll wrap up. And yeah. All right, so we'll keep going here. So just to mention, if you did not yet request your ArcGIS online account, it's not too late. So you can visit our website, k12.esri.ca, and click sign up for ArcGIS and fill out that request form. We have Angela, my colleague, who's going to be monitoring those requests and getting those accounts out if you have not yet requested your free account. But if you don't have your account for this session, that's totally fine, because all of the resources that I'm going to show you are completely open and you don't need an account to see anything that I'm going to show you. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. So let's say that you are ready to teach with GIS. Where do you start? I've linked here in this section a couple of resources that you can use to introduce the concept of GIS and spatial thinking to your classes, regardless of what subject you teach. And I'm going to play this video here. It's 2.5 minutes long, and it's called "Can a Billion Maps Help Save the Planet?"
It's all happened here. Everything we've ever known, done, loved, took place on this drifting, spinning ball that's our home. It's where we learned to provide, nurture, protect, thrive. And yet,
wildfires are scorching the West Coast, leaving behind a path of death and destruction.
Inches of rain this morning.
The waters keep rising, and according to the National Weather Service,
our very success now threatens our future. Today, our greatest challenge is to learn how to grow while sustaining what sustains us. Your understanding, your science, your work are the solution. You have the power to see patterns and relationships and show us how everything and everyone are connected. You have the power to transform how we produce and consume, build and maintain, unite and strengthen, heal and nurture. You can help us see that we can no longer live apart from nature, but must live as part of it. Today, geography matters more than ever. The geographic approach, your work, and the billions of maps you make are essential for creating a more sustainable future.
Thank you so much for watching that. I really love this video. I think it really communicates how important it is to be able to think geographically and to think spatially about everything that happens around us. This type of skill will be taken by the students through school and well into post-secondary and right into the workforce and into daily life as well. So you can feel free to use that video when introducing GIS to your classes. We often will use it in workshops as kind of a really quick inspirational video about what GIS is and how important it is to think geographically. Another resource that I have highlighted here is a resource that we created called "Do You Ever Use the Word Where?" You're going to click on this and it's going to open another one of our resources. This one is a really good resource that goes through what GIS is. There's another quick video summarizing what it is, but also what it stands for. So if you're completely new to GIS, and so are your students, this really goes through what does the G stand for, what does the I stand for, what does the S stand for, and some examples of what it really means. And the best part about this resource that I think is really great is that you can use it yourself to get started, but you can share it also exactly as it is with your students. If you scroll down a little bit more in this resource, it also goes through Canadian GIS applications, so the many different industries that use GIS on a day-to-day basis. Anywhere from agriculture to astronomy to climate to health to history, safety, transportation, and there's so many more applications to GIS in the world in general. So like I said, you can use this resource to get started. We also have linked a couple of key tutorials that you could get started right in here. It's a really good summary tutorial that you can share with your students to get started and build from there. We'll go back to our presentation. So here, these are just two resources that I've highlighted to help you get started. But there are many more that you can find on our resource finder. And so with that, we're going to go right into our next part of this session, which is exploring the K-12 resource finder. Perfect. The K-12 group at Esri Canada creates and publishes many different types of cross-curricular resources for teaching and learning. And like your ArcGIS online account, all of the resources we create are completely free for you to use and to adapt as you see fit. So they're licensed Creative Commons. If you find a resource that you really like, that you'd like to duplicate and change, you are free to do that, and we are also here to help you do that. And on our resource finder, we have everything from descriptive step-by-step tutorials. We have engaging activities, interactive maps. We have real-world data sets, all to help you bring your teaching to life, regardless of what subject you're teaching. And so in this part of the session, I'm going to give you a tour of the resource finder, explain what the different types of resources are that we have, and I'm going to highlight a few really good ones in each of the resource categories. So we have, before we actually visit the resource finder, I'll explain that we do actually have 5 different types of resources available for you, and each type offers a different opportunity for educators and students to learn more about GIS technology, to use GIS as a tool to understand a topic or issue, or to complete a project through the inquiry process as well. And so we're going to go right into the resource finder. The best way to learn how to use it is to actually go to it. So you can visit our resource finder by going to our website. So if you're viewing along with the presentation, you can click on this button, which would take you to the K-12 website, or you can open a new tab and just type in k12.esri.ca. And so this is our website. Perfect. And so this is kind of the main page of our website, and we're going to go right into the resource finder. I really want to make sure that you have the ability and the time to explore the resources that are ready for you. So you would click on this blue button called Find Resources, and it'll bring you right to our K-12 resource finder. And so if you see here at the top, there is a search bar. So if you are looking for something specific, you can type in a search term. So for example, if I typed in climate, you'll see that the resources that we have that are tagged as climate related will show up. So you can type in different types of search terms if you are looking for something specific, and the resources at the bottom will automatically filter out based on your search term. Another way that you could search the resource finder is by subject. So all of these buttons here are clickable. So if I were to click on geography, the resources that are tagged as geography related will remain on the page. And then you can filter by multiple subjects. If we go to history, you'll see that it will update. Let's go to social studies. We also have environmental science and business, English, mathematics. We have tons of different subjects that are here for you to explore. Another way that you can filter our resources are by resource type. And so we do have 5 different types. Well, I guess 6, including the videos. We do have 5 main types of resources that we create. And I'm going to show you a bunch of ready-made resources that you can bring into your classrooms, even, during the first week of class for different lessons and subjects. And I've also linked to all of the ones that I'm going to highlight. They're also all linked directly in the presentation. So if you're just watching and you don't want to write down what I've highlighted, everything is linked in the presentation already for you. And so we're going to go through these types of resources here. I'm going to explain what the resource type is, and then I'm going to show you a couple of examples of each type. And after I go through some of the highlighted resources that I want to share, I really want to give you some time to interact with the resource finder yourself and share in the chat any that you think could be relevant for your teaching. Okay, so the first resource type that we will explore are activities. So I'm going to click on activity here, and you'll see that the resources here will filter based on resources that are categorized as an activity. So what is an activity? Activities allow students to interact with a map or an app that has already been created, where they will explore focused questions connected to curriculum. And there is no ArcGIS online account that is required to use an activity. And I'll show you a couple of examples. So the first one that I'd like to share is the Art Canada Atlas Activity Collection. So if I click on Explore, the resource will open in another tab. And so the Art Canada Atlas Activity Collection is designed for students to explore and understand national and global geography, history, and culture through interactive activities and creative maps. So here there are 5 activities here that are ready to go that will explain to somebody how to use the app. So I'm going to open the app here, just clicking on Arc Canada Atlas. And the app will open in another tab. I'll click on Explore. And so this is the interactive atlas. So it's designed to be very similar to a physical atlas. There are different types of maps here that you can explore. So thinking of flipping the page in a physical atlas. There are tons of information here. It's also available in French, if that's something that you are looking for part of your class. And I'm going to click on Art Canada Activity 1. I'm going to select this map here. And you're going to see that the map is going to change here. And these activities here go right hand in hand with this app. So if I click on Activity 1, let me make this a little bit easier to read. Perfect. So these activities are step-by-step instructions on how to use this application. So you don't have to worry about creating the activity yourself to go hand in hand with the app. Everything here is already created for you. There is a section here that tells you what each of the buttons on that menu does. And then it also goes through an actual activity. So it'll say open the map, pan and zoom. And there will also be some leading questions here. If I go to the second page, there are some leading questions for your students so that they can explore the map and start asking inquiry questions about the data that they're seeing. So this activity page is found under activities. I'm just answering a question that came in through the chat. On our resource finder, I clicked on activity. And I'm exploring this first one that comes up, Art Canada Atlas Activity Collection. And then back into that collection, these are other activities that are designed to help your students explore the atlas, answer some targeted questions. You're welcome. And it's essentially a step-by-step guide for interacting with this app here. So this is just one of many different activities that are available on our resource finder, with a guided lesson and inquiry questions that are connected to curriculum that are already ready to go. So this one is great. There is another session today that focuses just on the atlas. So if you're interested in that, take a look. I think it's in the next session at 11:45. We have a whole session that is going to go through just the atlas and all of these activities that go with it. So I'm going to go back to our resource finder. And I'm going to show you another activity that I think is really great. I'm going to scroll down and I'm looking for the energy production in Canada resource. If I click on explore, it'll open in another tab. And so this resource was designed for students to learn about Canada's energy story by exploring where, how, and why different types of energy are produced in Canada. And students will learn about Canada's power generation stations, oil refineries, wind farms, and more. And this activity is actually a digital version of the Canadian Geographic Education's energy production and transmission giant floor map. So they gave us the data that is presented on the giant floor map. We put it on a web map and then designed this whole activity around it. So if I scroll down here, you're going to see on the left-hand side, there's a lot of background information about Canada's energy mix. And on the right-hand side, there's an interactive map that students can explore that tells you all about what's going on with Canada's energy production. So there's a legend here that goes through, that's explaining what you're seeing on the map as well. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see in blue that we have inquiry questions that are really already built in that will help the students explore the map a little bit more. So there's also step-by-step instructions on how to use the map. So it says click on each type of energy, explore the map, and then answer these questions as you go through it. So if someone were to click on crude oil, the map will update based on information that is available in the crude oil data set. And there's some background information and then some inquiry questions for each type of power in Canada. And as you go through the resource, if you go to the next section, it's like flipping a page in a textbook. There's more information about water, for example, and some background information, some inquiry questions, and exactly steps on how to use the app on the right-hand side for students to really explore the data further, maybe to do some of their own filtering and lead to their own inquiry questions. So those are two types of activities, or two activities that we have available for you on our resource finder. So nobody has to sign in to use those or to interact with them. They're ready to go. You don't need an ArcGIS online account to use these. And so activities are really designed to be ready to go right out of the box. We've connected to curriculum wherever we can, and you'll see that there's a bunch of different subjects that you can look for in the activities. And so we've explored a couple of activities. We're going to move on to gallery. So if I click on gallery, all of the resources that are tagged as a gallery will update. And you can go through a bunch of them as well. So, but galleries are put together by theme. So making searching for the perfect map or app as easy as possible. And they also include resources from other organizations using ArcGIS. And again, like activities, there is no ArcGIS account required for this type of resource. But we're going to go through a couple of them. I'll show you the physical education and health gallery. If we click on explore, it'll open in a new tab. And it's essentially a collection of resources. Some we've created, some other organizations have created. I'm going to click on content to see it a little bit more clear. And so these are a bunch of different story maps, maybe data sets, maybe apps that another organization has created that we thought could be really great to use in physical education and health classes. So for example, existence and accessibility of urban spaces in Canada, created by somebody from Simon Fraser University. We have a few apps about Gatineau Park, cross-country skiing and snowshoeing trails. We have an excellent resource on how GIS can be used in public health. And we have a bunch of other excellent apps that are related to physical education and health. And these apps or these galleries are always updating. So whenever we find something that's relevant to this subject, we just add it in And so if you were to visit this gallery, maybe in a month, it might have some more ones. Let's take a look at another gallery here. Let's take a look at the global issues one. I'm going to open it up and it'll open another tab. And so this one is really great. It's a collection of maps and apps that can be used for global issues and teaching about global issues. So a lot of these were created by either the Story Maps team. We have a few that were created by international organizations. ArcGIS itself is a professional tool. It's used by industries and organizations across the globe. So we're talking about the World Health Organization, where NOAA, government agencies at all levels use ArcGIS, and they make resources publicly available for the general public. So whenever we find something that can be used in education and used in the classroom, we'll add them to these galleries for you to have access to and pull up right in front of your class. And so you don't have to create everything from scratch on a particular issue. And so we have a lot of a collection here of maps and apps that are related to global issues. So you can learn about borders. There's a lesson here about eradicating extreme poverty, gender equality, many, many different apps and maps that you can use for global issues classes. And just keep that in mind, because during our little activity time, maybe you want to come back to this gallery and maybe look at it a little bit deeper. Okay, so we've explored activities and galleries. We're going to go right into lessons. So these ones are a little bit different. So lessons are designed to get students using ArcGIS to create maps and to analyze data and to understand a topic, make a decision, or solve a problem. So some of these lessons are packaged into story maps, which you can see with the Explore button. Some of them are zip files. So you might notice that some of them won't say download, in which case you'll download a zip file that will contain a few different documents. One of them is a lesson plan. One of those documents is a curriculum connection, and you can explore those a little bit further. So these types of resources, ArcGIS Online accounts are required for students to create and analyze data and to save their work. So for activities and galleries, no ArcGIS Online account is required, but for lessons and tutorials as well, ArcGIS Online accounts are recommended so that students can save their work and share it with you. It can be kind of their culminating project for the year. So I'm going to show you a couple of lessons. The first one I'd like to show you is the invasive species Emerald Ash Borer lesson. And so in this lesson, students will use ArcGIS Online to explore, assess, and analyze tree data related to the Emerald Ash Borer issue in Oakville, Ontario. So if we scroll down here, you're going to see a full introduction and a background about the issue of Emerald Ash Borers in Oakville, Ontario. And if you scroll down a little bit more, we do have some information, further information for the educators. So a lesson breakdown about what exactly the student will be going through, how long approximately this lesson would take. So maybe you'd like to break it down into 3 different or 4 different sessions, where the data comes from, and the type of inquiry that the student is going to focus on. Once you scroll down a little bit more, there's more information that's specific to the student's role. So they're going to be pretending that they are a GIS analyst in the town of Oakville, and they're going to be using data to really assess the issue of the Emerald Ash Borer in Oakville. And then it will go through the different inquiries, and there are step-by-step instructions on how to use the data, but there are also inquiry questions so that allow the students to look at the data in maybe a different way and to answer questions. So this is a lesson. So you would want the student to be able to save their work because they are quite in depth. And this would require an ArcGIS Online account. Of course, they're free, and you can get student accounts the same way that you got your own account right on our website, where you can contact us and we can help you get those set up. So this is an example of a really great lesson that we have that's ready to go. Another lesson that I would like to show you is the career path series. So if we click on the career path series, it's going to open in a new tab. And so this is a collection of resources that we've created for students to not only learn about GIS itself, but also the myriad of career opportunities that GIS opens up, and hopefully inspiring the next generation of GIS data analysts and decision makers. A few of these are, I mean, they're all great. I have a couple of favorites. The GIS for crime analysis is really amazing. So if you scroll down, there's a little bit of a background of why GIS would be used for crime analysis. Some of the ways that GIS is used for public safety. We will always have an industry professional spotlight so that students can get a sense of a professional who is actually using GIS to do this type of career. And then in the scenarios, it gives you a background of what the project and the lesson will be about. And then it'll walk you through step by step of different parts of this analysis that the student will be going through on their own, pretending that they're a GIS analyst for crime and public safety. So this one is really excellent. The other ones are also excellent. GIS for wildlife conservation is great. The GIS for geology and geophysics is also great. We worked with a geophysicist who was interning with us, doing her PhD. And we worked with her to create this lesson as what a geophysicist would do with GIS. So this would be the scenario that the student would be going through. And we have part 1 and 2 and step-by-step instructions and data for the student to use and to go through and to use GIS as a geophysicist. Those are probably my 2 favorite lessons that we have right now. So we're going to go right into tutorials. So tutorials are step-by-step instructions for how to use ArcGIS in general. So they're not tied to curriculum so much, but they're great for both teachers and students to learn how to use ArcGIS. So one of them that I would like to show you is Survey 123 for K-12 education. So at the beginning of our session, we filled out a survey. We have a tutorial here for you that'll walk you through step by step on how you can build a similar survey. And they're a little bit more software focused on how to use Survey 123, what it could be used for, how do you start it, how do you add your first question, where do you type, and some inspiration as well on educators that are already using Survey 123. Another tutorial that is really great on our resource finder is the Let's Get Started with ArcGIS Online. So if you're ready to start moving maybe away from the pre-made activities and you're ready to make your own, Let's Get Started with ArcGIS Online is an excellent self-guided learning for K-12 educators, and it'll give you a good, excellent sense of how to use ArcGIS Online, how to make your own map, how to share it with your students, and maybe how to even make a story map resource out of it. So tutorials are more step-by-step instructional on how to use ArcGIS Online in general. So videos are videos. Whenever we record a video, we'll publish it. And so you can look at these. And we also have some really great spotlights. So we will often create videos of educators that are doing amazing things. So this is a great place to get some inspiration for your work as well. The last thing that I will show you on our resource finder are course collections. So course collections are ready-made collection of resources that are connected to a specific curriculum. So similar to galleries, but less so of a general topic, more of a specific curriculum. And so these make it easy for educators new to GIS to implement GIS in their teaching right away. And we recommend ArcGIS Online accounts for these as well, so that students can go through them and save their work. So for example, if we open a couple of them, let's check out the Forces of Nature Physical Processes and Disasters. This is for Ontario grade 11 Forces of Nature course. And so we've collected a bunch of resources that are tied to this specific curriculum. And if we take a quick look at some other ones, we also have ones for PEI grade 6 social studies course collection. You can take a look at that, open this, and these are all tied to the PEI curriculum. All right, I will also mention before we get too far away from the resource finder, the resource finder is also available in French, and we have many resources that are completely in French. So if you are teaching in a French immersion school or a fully French class, you can still do GIS, which is great. So I'm going to go back to the presentation here. And so we went through the K-12 resource finder. In this section, I've linked to all of the ones that I just highlighted. So you don't have to remember to bookmark them all. They're all listed here and they're all available in our resource finder. One more thing that I'd like to show and to share with you is the K-12 group at Esri Canada also has a partner in education program where we partner with different organizations that also create teaching and learning resources for you to use right out of the box. So for example, Canadian Geographic Education creates a ton of resources that are ready to use. You can explore them in this section of the presentation. We also have, if we go back to our website, k12.esri.ca, we have a tab right at the top called Partners. If you were to open this tab, it brings you to a page that is designed to specifically highlight our partners and the resources that they've created. So these are some recent highlights of partner resources. And we also have specific pages for some of our partners. So Canadian Geographic Education, again, has tons of resources that are ready for you to use. We have a link here to their resource finder where you could go in and type in some search terms and get some resources that are ready for you. Another one I'd like to highlight is What's Your Treaty Story? So this story map was created by the Treaty Relations Commission in Manitoba. And it's a story map centered on the numbered treaties in Manitoba. And the overarching aim of this map is to engage students in the story of treaty by immersing them in the landscape, the land, and the water, and the history of treaties in Manitoba. So there's lots of background information here. And there are a lot of interactive maps here as well that students can interact with to learn more about treaties in Manitoba. So this is just an example of one of our resources that have been created by our partners. And we have a bunch more for you to explore. In the presentation, we also have resources that are linked from the Story Maps team. So the team that Ross Donahue comes from, our keynote speaker, they create a ton of resources that are excellent for use in the classroom. Climate Migrants, for example, this is a collection of story maps that describe how in the coming decades we're going to see a huge increase in the number of people who have to migrate due to climate change and its many effects, including rising sea levels, extreme heat, flood, drought, and conflict. So you can use these in your classroom as well. I'm going to go back to our presentation. So I'd really love to give you even like 5 minutes to go through our resource finder and our education partner resources. Just do a quick whirlwind tour, open up a bunch of resources, start to think how they can be used in an inquiry project, and also how to use them to supplement what you're already teaching. So to start, go to our website, k12.esri.ca. You can either explore our partner resources by clicking on the partner tab or click on find resources to explore our resource finder. I'm going to put just a 5-minute timer up here. And after 5 minutes, we'll come back together and we will wrap up and take some questions. So I'm going to start the timer. As you're going through the resource finder and the partner resources, share them in the chat. If you find one that you really like, that you think will be useful for your upcoming classes, share them in the chat, share them with your fellow educators. All right, the timer has started. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to explore, and then we'll come back together. I do see some questions coming in through the chat, and after these 5 minutes are up, I will answer them. I just want to give you some dedicated time to explore some of the resources and get used to using the resource finder. A couple more minutes left to explore, and then we will come back together. All right. Our 5 minutes of exploration time is up. I hope that you were able to use the our resource finder or to explore some of our partner resources. So we'll come back together now. I'm going to head back to our presentation. We have a section just underneath our partner resources section with even more great resources for you to explore on your own time. This is an excellent resource here, firesmoke.ca, that goes through the current live wildfires that are happening across the country. An excellent tool to use for current events. This one here is NOAA data in the classroom. So it's real-time NOAA data that you can use as part of the lesson. And there's a few other resources for you to explore as well. So what's next is to get inspired. We have a link here to our blogs where we highlight the work that is already been done by educators across the country using GIS to teach. And if you need any further help, you can contact us at k12@esri.ca. And thank you so much for joining me. I will take a look at the questions in the chat now. So we had an excellent question come in about the accounts and if they're available for pre-service teachers. And the answer is yes. Pre-service teachers can also get access to completely free, no-cost ArcGIS online accounts. On our website, we do have a section tab here for pre-service educators to get a head start on how to use GIS in building their teaching skills. We do workshops for pre-service educators as well, so you can feel free to contact us directly and we'll help you get set up with all of your accounts that you might need if you're working with pre-service educators. And they have access to all of course, these same resources. If you have any other further questions, you can put them in the chat. You can use the Q&A. There was a question about the treaty resource. So the treaty resource we highlight under our partners tab. If you were to click on the partners and education tab from our website, we have it here as one of the highlights. What's your treaty story? Or you could also find it under the Treaty Relations Commission of Manitoba dedicated page on our partner hub. Thank you. What if my school has not authorized the account from Esri? So feel free to reach out to us directly if you have some technical questions about the account. But most provinces have licensed ArcGIS at the provincial level through the Ministry of Education. So you should be able to get into your account pretty easily. Some boards and some schools have single sign-on already set up. So you won't have to worry about getting students an individual account. We have many boards that have single sign-on set up, and ArcGIS is available through their Google Classroom or whatever learning system that they're using. If you have questions about single sign-on, contact us directly and we'll tell you exactly how you could access it. Perfect. We have a question about using Google Classroom. Can kids turn in custom-made ArcGIS story maps to the Google Classroom? Of course. So similar to, and you can easily see it when you're ready to grade it, of course. So what you can do is either when students create story maps like this, they can be made and shared with you, and the URL can be shared with you, and so that you have a direct link right to their story map that they've created. There's also ways where you can create groups in ArcGIS Online. So you can create a group that's specific to your class section, and all of the students will share their work into that group in ArcGIS Online. So you have a collection of maybe specific projects, and everyone can share their work right into there. We have another session. It might have already happened this morning, but it will be recorded. That's ArcGIS Online for newbies, and that will show you how to create a group, how to navigate ArcGIS Online, how your students can share work to the group as well. So there's different ways that students can turn in their work. And again, let it just be a complement to what you're already doing. Don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel and completely change your processes to start incorporating GIS into your class. How long does it take for student accounts to become operational? A couple of days, only because the request comes to us and we process them, and then they are ready to go. So we recommend 2 business days, but if the request has come in for student accounts and we get on it right away, it could be the same day or the following day. If they're using single sign-on, all they would have to do is click the button in their Google Classroom or learning management system, and then it's already functional. You don't have to do, there's no waiting time, it's just ready to go. Yes, all of these sessions are being recorded, and you'll get a link when they're available. We do have some treaty maps that are being made by other provinces. Feel free to shoot us an email at k12@esri.ca, and we can send those links to you as well. We do have a couple minutes left before we get cut off. So if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. If not, feel free to email us at k12@esri.ca with any other questions. It should be, if you request a student account, it should be within 2 business days. If something is taking longer, that's not quite right. So feel free to reach out to us if you're having technical issues with accounts. And like I mentioned, if you have single sign-on, the accounts are already ready to go. All they have to do is click the ArcGIS button in their learning management system, and there's no waiting time. It's already activated. Thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate your time. I know it's the end of August and everyone is getting ready for the school year. I hope that the resources that I've shown you today will be helpful. Everything is ready to go. You don't have to create anything from scratch for a very long time until you're ready to start creating your own lessons and activities. And we are here for support. Feel free to email us at any time, and we are happy to help. Thank you so much, everyone. I think there is a short break, and I will see you in the next session, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Awesome. That was great.